Hi, this is Congressman Tom Cole. This is another one of our regular congressional chat sessions. Been a very interesting time in Congress, to say the least. There's been certainly legislation moving across the floor, but the big things are things that you can't easily see right now. The first is the big, beautiful bill. As many of you know, that breaks into four different parts. First part would be the major tax reductions, making the Trump tax cuts of 2017 permanent. There are additional tax things that are new in the code: no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for seniors below a certain income level. So all things that President Trump ran on. That's one part. Second part, controversial but frankly needed, which are some reforms in entitlement spending, Medicaid in particular. You're going to hear a lot of scare tactics about, gosh, people are being thrown off Medicaid. The only people being removed from Medicaid are people that aren't eligible for Medicaid. That is illegal aliens, people that are making more money than the law allows, or people that were enrolled by mistake. A lot of errors in this, so it's basically removing folks, and over a 10-year period that saves about $1.5 trillion in expenditure. So it helps pay for the tax cuts, and again, by taking benefits away from people that honestly weren't entitled to the benefits in the first place. Nobody that's disabled is being removed. Nobody that's frankly has let's say a single woman with children or what have you. There's also the addition of a work requirement there, which I think is an appropriate thing to do. And it's not an onerous work requirement. It just says you either need to be working, or you need to be training to get a job, or you need to be doing 80 hours worth of volunteer work a month, so 20 hours a week. If you're going to get a substantial federal benefit, working in exchange for that benefit is a very reasonable thing to do. So that's a second part of the bill. There's also a lot of deregulatory things in there that will speed up energy production. That produces additional revenue for the federal government. And finally, there's legislation in there that, again, tightens up some requirements and things to get benefits. So nothing unusual, but over time it would make a huge difference. There's also additional spending that would be spending on things that are necessary. An additional $150 billion for defense, and that is very necessary given how dangerous. Additional $175 billion over a 4-year period for additional security on the border. So again, it's quite a monumental piece of legislation. It passed the House a couple of weeks ago by a single vote. It's now in the United States Senate. The Senate may make additional changes, may change some of the tax provisions, may try to again increase the amount of savings. We'll see what it is, but there's not much you can do to change the House bill without risking it, because whatever changes the Senate makes, it has to come back to the House and be approved again. And the President's working this very, very hard. Our leadership team, Speaker Mike Johnson, particularly Majority Leader Steve Scalise, who's done a brilliant job on putting this together. We actually began working on this over a year ago. So that reconciliation package, as it's called, is probably the biggest single thing that will happen during the second Trump term. And again, it depends. Now we'll see what the Senate does. Can they pass it? And then we'll see if whatever changes they make, the House will also agree. So it's very much still up in the air. In addition to that, we're beginning and just begun this week what are called markups for the appropriations process. Appropriations is the money that actually funds the day-to-day operation of government, defense, transportation, NASA, things like that. And those hearings are now underway. We've had our first markups, which means the first bill has been produced. We passed a couple out of subcommittee this week, But we need to get all 12 of those bills done before the August break, with the idea that we'll then move some of them across the floor, hopefully make sure the government is fully funded by September 30th. There may be another continuing resolution for a time as we negotiate that out, but if we don't get that work done, then the government would close down on September 30th. So by September 30th, we either need to get all 12 bills done and across the floor and agreed to by the Senate, which is also working on this in their chamber at the same time, or not. So it's a pretty critical point in the Trump presidency. This has to be done, reconciliation has to be done with Republican-only votes. Given the fact we lose 3 or 4 Republicans in the House, we literally can't pass it. We didn't do it. We worked together really well as a team. President Trump honestly made the sale, if you will, to those last few reluctant Republicans, and now he's doing exactly the same thing in the House. In the Senate. And then, looking beyond that, of course, the president has more to do than just pass legislation. There have been some pretty high-level talks, trade agreements. We reached one with the United Kingdom recently, major trading partner of the United States. There are other negotiations underway. The president has also been busy trying to bring peace in Ukraine. He's talked to Vladimir Putin, not one of my favorite guys, the guy that started a horrific war with the Ukraine. It's now over 1 million Russian casualties in that war, probably somewhere to 300,000 to 350,000 Ukrainian casualties, the worst fighting in Europe since the Second World War. And I applaud the president for trying to get peace. We also had, pretty spectacular Ukrainian success. If you've been watching the news, you'll notice they took out something like perhaps as much as a third of the Russian strategic bomber fleet. Those are bombers that have been used against Ukraine. They're also bombers capable of carrying nuclear weapons against the United States. So in this case, Russia has suffered a catastrophic defeat. At the same time, Russia's much larger than Ukraine and has been launching a series of missile attacks. Let me just quote President Trump. Vladimir Putin's gone crazy. Literally, I think he's got himself into a war that he thought would be over in a matter of weeks. We're now in the 3rd year of that war. It'll be that long until we go to the 4th. We're in the 4th year, and again, a horrific thing. So I applaud the president's efforts to create peace, but I also support the Ukrainian effort to defend themselves. And of course, the United States has made a substantial investment to try and help Ukraine. I think some people don't understand the president has supported that effort in terms of giving Ukraine what it needs to survive. But sooner or later, we need to stop the killing, and we need to arrive at some sort of peace agreement. And President Trump's been working hard on that. And again, the trade agreements, hopefully we can reach with China, very important for both our countries. Our economies are very closely intertwined, but the Chinese have taken advantage systematically of the United States and stolen our intellectual property, traded in a very unfair way. The president's trying to right that. So we're at a pretty critical point in the Trump presidency. The first thing that needs to happen is to get this, quote, big, beautiful bill, the tax cuts, the entitlement reforms, the regulatory reforms, the strengthening of the American energy economy, pretty important in a state like Oklahoma. Those things need to get done. At the same time, we need to work in a bipartisan way and come to agreements with our colleagues on the Democratic side of the aisle and get the government completely funded for next year. Otherwise, we run the risk of a government shutdown sometime in late September or early October. So quite a bit going on, and all I can tell you is it's sort of an ongoing story, but it's working pretty well right now. We're moving the ball in the right direction, I'm convinced, for the American people. And if we're successful at doing that, I think will lay the groundwork for a really strong economy for the balance of President Trump's term and hopefully in the future beyond that. So we'll be talking about this quite a bit in the weeks ahead. And I tell you, I look forward to visiting with you probably next week and the week after once again as we make progress in this legislation. In the meantime, good luck, God bless, hope your family is safe.